Today, Bitcoin turns higher after President Trump announces a pause on some tariffs. The European Union warns crypto could weigh on financial markets in the future as they become more intertwined. And Tiago Sada, Chief Product Officer at WorldCoin contributor Tools for Humanity, explains what the project's doing to address privacy concerns tied to its controversial iris scanning orbs. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Katie Tarasov. Digital currencies are advancing this afternoon after President Trump announced he's putting a pause on some of the tariffs he implemented on more than 180 countries. The president said on Truth Social that he authorized a 90-day pause effective immediately and lowered most tariffs during this period to 10%. That does not include China, though. He instead raised tariffs on the country to 125%. As of 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time, Bitcoin jumped more than 7%, now trading at $82,000. Ether soared more than 13.5% to the $1,600 level, and XRP rose 12% to $2.04. Now, a lot is changing quickly as this news just came in this afternoon, so check CNBC.com for the latest. Okay, let's talk about the top stories. The European Union's securities watchdog is warning about the potential for financial instability due to crypto. Yesterday, the European Securities and Markets Authority warned crypto could pose risks to broader financial stability in the future as the sector develops and as ties with traditional financial markets grow. The authority's executive director said yesterday the sector needs close monitoring as crypto markets have been growing quickly and interconnections between digital assets and traditional markets are expanding. She also noted that while risks to financial stability stemming from crypto are increasing, they aren't significant yet. That's largely due to crypto's relatively small size compared to global financial assets. Funds focused on crypto make up less than 1% in the EU, and there's currently limited integration with TradFi. According to the authority, financial institutions' exposure to crypto remains small globally. The vast majority of EU banks, more than 95%, don't engage in crypto activities at all. Next, sticking with Europe, crypto exchange Kraken is teaming up with MasterCard to bring physical and digital debit cards to customers in the region. This translated announcement from MasterCard says the partnership would allow customers in Europe and the UK to pay with crypto at more than 150 million merchants worldwide. Kraken has been amping up its products and services amid a more crypto-friendly backdrop, both abroad and here in the US. Back in January, Kraken brought back crypto staking in a few U.S. states after ending its staking as a service platform for U.S. customers in February 2023 during Gary Gensler's reign over the SEC. Meanwhile, this is just the latest partnership for MasterCard, which offers products across the world in collaboration with various crypto firms. In the U.S., it partnered with Gemini to launch a credit card in 2021 that earns crypto rewards for qualifying purchases. All right, for our main story, Crypto World's Talia Kaplan sat down with Tiago Sada, Chief Product Officer at Tools for Humanity. They're a key contributor to WorldCoin, the identity and crypto venture co-founded by OpenAI's Sam Altman. Back in October, WorldCoin underwent a rebrand to the World Network as the project faced continued scrutiny over its data collection through iris scanning devices.
Tiago, thank you very much for joining us here on Crypto World.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to finally do this in person.
And I'm sure you have been very busy as Chief Product Officer for Tools for Humanity, which is a key contributor to WorldCoin, now known as World. And we'll talk all about those new developments in just a bit. But first, I want to focus on the topic of privacy. Last time we spoke was about exactly a year ago, and we spoke extensively about this topic as several countries, including Spain and Portugal, placed temporary bans on what we see here, that controversial iris scanning device called an orb. And Hong Kong, another example, forcing WorldCoin, now known as World, to cease operations in the region. So I'm wondering what's going on right now with all of that. I believe Hong Kong still doesn't allow World to operate in the region. And I understand, I read recently that Tools for Humanity actually filed a lawsuit against Spain for not complying with the rest of the EU and working with authorities there for over a year. So despite that, still no resolution there. What can you tell us? What's the latest?
So I think first it's very important to understand that there is no ban for WorldCoin anywhere. Generally, anywhere where we operate, where you can go and verify an orb, we're always working with the authorities to make sure that they understand what is happening and that they do that even before we launch. Now, the project sometimes grows so much on a given country that the government has to go in and make sure that what we're saying of how the system works is actually in fact how it does. Most of the times they can do that while we continue operating. Every once in a while, like in some of the examples that you've mentioned, the governments will actually ask us to pause while they're able to review that before we can return to operations. Right? So for example, in the case of Portugal, we're back operating in Portugal. And so some of these cases take a little bit longer than others. But in general, every time we've gone through this process with a government, they verify that in fact what we say is true, which is your data gets deleted from the orb, only you have access to your data, and you can use World ID fully anonymously.
And what's the latest with Spain? I don't know if you are allowed to even talk about it, given there's a lawsuit in the mix, but what's the latest there? Is it in fact operational again?
So the truth is, I personally don't know. I focus only on building our products and like making sure they reach the people. So I honestly don't know what's the latest with that.
Now, when we spoke last year, it seemed like we saw all these headlines all the time about these privacy concerns, the different regions banning these orbs. But now it seemed to have subsided a bit. So clearly, Tools for Humanity is doing something right. But I did see something recently involving Brazil, authorities there deciding to uphold its restrictions on crypto compensation tied to the World ID project. And it also decided to not accept the petition from Tools for Humanity for their request to see that ban. So what exactly is going on with Brazil, and what are you doing to quell some of the privacy concerns tied to these orbs?
Yeah, so again, I think as you say, we've been growing a lot, right, over the past year, and launching a lot of new countries all over Europe, Latin America, Asia, and I think it's normal that some of these will have more questions than others. So without getting into Brazil specifically, I think I'm just really excited that just over the last 4 months, the network has almost doubled in size. And so we're seeing unprecedented levels of growth, not just for crypto, but for a consumer product like this one. This is something that is needed right now in the world. Consumers understand that, companies understand that, regulators understand that, and we're seeing huge support from all over the world to get this done.
Does that have to do with the fact that you went through a rebrand? Instead of WorldCoin, now the project is known as World, and with that came an updated iris scanning orb, which we see right here. So how is this orb different than the original?
Yeah, so this orb is meant to make it much more accessible for everyone around the world, right? One of the things that we think a lot about is how do we put an orb within 15 minutes of any person that wants to verify? And so this orb is not only a lot easier to manufacture, so it allows us to make more of them, but it has a couple of cool new features that make it more approachable for people. The first one is this one. Actually, we can put on stands on places like convenience stores or malls, just like an ATM, without a person next to it. So you can simply walk up to one of these orbs, and in what we call self-serve, you can connect your phone to it, and then your phone guides you through the process so that just like a photo booth at a mall, you can yourself get verified. The other cool thing you will be able to do with this orb is what we call Orb on Demand, which is like right from your home or from your work. You can simply go on an app and say, you know what, I want to get verified right now. And then a driver will come to you with this orb, will verify you, all of your data gets deleted, and the driver leaves. And so a lot of what we've been thinking about is to make sure that this network is able to reach as many people as possible, is we want to make the orbs as accessible as possible.
And where do these upgraded orbs exist currently?
Yes, so these ones are actually about to go live into the world. We showed a preview of them last November, and we announced that in the first half of this year they would go into production. So we're gearing for that, and hopefully very soon you'll start seeing them pop up all over the world.
Now, we have seen some competition pop up. One example that comes to mind is the Humanity Protocol. They actually use palm scans instead of iris scans. What's your reaction to the fact that now there's competition in the mix? Essentially, what they're trying to do is to ensure real humans participate in online spaces as opposed to bots, which is, of course, a huge goal for Tools for Humanity. So what's your reaction to all of this competition, and how does Worlds compare to the competition?
Look, I think that when we started working on this almost 6 years ago, it was very controversial to say that AI was going to break down the internet and that we were going to need to be able to tell between a human and a bot. We've really believed back then, and I think we've started seeing all of that play out, right? Whether you go to online gaming and you're trying to play but someone is cheating with bots, or you go to dating apps and you all of a sudden realize that the person you're talking to has 6 fingers and it was not actually a person. Or Taylor Swift puts out her concert tickets and they all go to bots. I think now we're all understanding the importance of being able to tell what is a human and what is a bot. We've been working on the project for more than 5 years. We've tested many different ways, and after all of that time, we really think the thing that is the most privacy preserving, the thing that's the most secure, and that is inclusive, that you can actually scale across the world, is something like the Orb. So we're super comfortable with that.
So you're not deterred by any of this competition at all?
Not at all. I think if anything, we're really excited to see that other people are realizing that this is a big issue, and we're very confident that this is the right way to solve it.
All right, Sada also explained what prompted the WorldCoin project to go through a rebrand and whether privacy concerns had anything to do with the decision. You'll be able to check out the full interview over at cnbc.com/cryptoworld. And as a reminder, be sure to check out the latest prices on crypto over at cnbc.com too. That's all for today. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.